Hey everyone. First of all, I want to just thank everybody for joining my channel, for subscribing. I really appreciate it. It's people like you that make this work truly transformational. I hope everyone is doing great today. Now, I have something special for you today because last week I had the opportunity of presenting and being the keynote at the Title I Part D training in Lexington, Kentucky. Now, when I go to any state, what I try to do is I try to visit any of the local juvenile detention facilities. And while I was there, I had the great opportunity of presenting and talking with kids at two facilities. Now, the students there had taken the careful time and planning of actually setting up questions. I really appreciated that. And it made the conversation just flow so easily. It made things go so well. And I really was impressed with their commitment, how articulate they were, how open they were, how willing they were to engage. It was truly appreciative. Now, they had the opportunity to view my TED Talk, the first one that I did, and they also had the opportunity to review some of the YouTube videos that I have set up in the last months here. And because of this preparation and because of the fact that they were so engaged, it was probably for me, honestly, one of the best opportunities I ever had. And so right now, and I told them I'd do this, I want to give out a strong shout out to 100, 200, 300, and 400. And they know who they are. And when you're watching this today, know that today's a new day. So start it out right. So as I'm going through all these different questions, and I got to tell you, there was a lot. It truly was something that was amazing to be so engaged and be so involved in it required me to really think deeply about the questions. So much so that as I answered them and went through them, we went through the sections so quickly, and it left a lot that were actually needed to be answered. And so, as we're talking about how we're going to be able to get those questions answered, one of the youngsters said, "Hey, Jeff, how about you just present it on your YouTube channel?" And I said, "Man, that's a great idea." And that's what I'm doing today. And again, I want to thank all you guys for taking the time to present these questions to me. I was impressed with each and every one of you. As I was talking to you guys, I talked about me being a time traveler and the fact that every single time that I am interacting with a youth, I think a lot about what I wanted someone to tell me when I was in your particular place and what I wish somebody would have told me. And I got to tell you that as I saw you, I saw myself sitting in them chairs, being engaged, and knowing the thoughts that you're having as you're looking around and knowing that as of right now, you may have felt like you made mistakes, but life doesn't end there. Life is just beginning. And I saw myself sitting in those chairs and I said, what can I tell them that I wish somebody would have told me? And I hope you guys really felt the fact that I was telling you everything that I wish somebody would have told me. And through giving to you, I truly felt like I was given to the world. And I appreciate the time that you guys took to talk to me. It wasn't just about me talking to you, it was truly a learning exchange between you and I. Now, this wouldn't have happened if we would not have had the amazing cooperation and opportunity presented to me uh, from the teachers, from the directors, and in particular, I have to give a huge shout out to Wes and Monica, who actually reached out to me. Like a lot of people do reach out to me and ask me about being a keynote and things like that. But I got to tell you that they went above and beyond to make me feel welcome, to engage me, to really make this be an opportunity and an event versus just me going in and talking with not just the teachers, but being able to talk with the kids. This was just truly amazing. And thank you guys for making me feel so welcome. I really, really appreciate it. So, without further ado, let's get into the information.
What was it like hearing or knowing prisoners were getting attacked and knowing you could be next?
I believe that this is probably the most significant thing that involves why people sometimes leave prisons with PTSD is because it is that constant adrenaline dump. You're constantly worried about what's going to happen, who's going to do what, whether you're out. lifting, whether you are in your cell, whether you are um, playing cards, whatever you're doing in a conversation, there's always that constant threat of violence. And so, to answer your question of what was it like, it was draining. It meant that I had to be on constant guard. I had to be constantly vigilant about my surroundings, who I talked to, who I didn't talk to. And so, the thing to keep in mind about that is that it creates constant adrenaline, and you may respond in ways that may be exaggerated. As a matter of fact, I talked a little bit about this in our conversation when I spoke about the fact that we all know somebody who's gotten out, and when they've gotten out, they act a little different, and they're hyper vigilant about everything. So, what was it like? It was difficult. It was something that people shouldn't have to feel for years upon years. And now you already know that I spent a lot of time in solitary confinement, and on top of the fact that you're in a cell by yourself, you got to constantly worry about who's going to enter that cell. If you have a conflict with a guard, if you have a conflict with whoever, there's always sometimes accidental cell door opening. So you got to be vigilant. You have to be ready for anything at any time. And I wouldn't wish this upon my worst enemy. It's difficult, and it's something that will sit with you for a long time that you'll need to get therapy for once you get out.
Why did you feel like you wanted to go back to rehabilitate juveniles in the system?
My whole entire young life I had taken from people. I always wanted what other people didn't have for a variety of reasons. But I will say that because I had taken so much from so many people, I knew and I know I have to give back. And truly, to give is to receive. So when I go and talk to a youngster, when I go and involve myself in volunteer work, I'm giving, but I'm also receiving. But I know that in life, if everything that you put out to the world, everything that you give to others comes back, then what I want to come back to me is positivity, is good work. And so I just keep giving and knowing that the best rate for my giving is being able to give back to youth, because I was just like you. And I like to say I made it, but it's still a constant struggle. And this is something that you'll deal with, but it's something you can overcome. And if you wake up today on this side of the ground, you've succeeded. And if that's the case, it's time to give. And I knew that my road to redemption was going to start, it was going to be maintained and end with giving.
What was that culminating moment that turned chess into your sanity savior and solution?
You know, as I spent years upon years in solitary confinement, I often wondered, would I be one of those men that sort of melted into puddles of madness? I often wondered, would I be that person on that Thorazine shuffle who has been doped up so much by psychotropic medications that he doesn't even know what's going on? And so for me, I knew I never wanted to be counted amongst the broken men. For me, I knew that I was in this by myself. Superman wasn't coming. I could wish for him, I could pray for him, but the biggest savior and the biggest Superman was going to be within. And so as I played chess, and those other gentlemen that were older than me and mentored me, and they sort of um, intertwined lessons of life in these chess games, I realized that in chess, there's ability to see life. There's an ability to strategize how you're going to be successful. And there's so much translated from that simple game of chess to life that if I didn't take full advantage of it, I would have made this time seem to be for no reason, which is not what I wanted. I, I spent a lot of time in prison, and I wanted to make everything count. An old man told me one time, listen here, youngster, don't let the time do you, you do the time. And so when I started playing chess, I started understanding how that connected to every other aspect of life, especially when I was told different lessons like, listen, man, you got to be able to operate on every single level, in the boardroom, in the in the interview room, in the courtroom. And so I thought about that and I said, and I started looking at chess of being able to take those strategies and make them applicable to every aspect of life. And that's what I did. And that's why to this day, I still rely on those strategies that I talked about so that I can be my best version.
Who was your first relative that you visited or that visited you when you were released from prison?
That's I, the person that I first saw when I got out of prison. I got off the bus station. It was actually one of my brothers, and he came and picked me up from the bus station. And I can say that, one of the things about doing time and being in prison is that the world keeps going on more and more, even though you're inside. So it's humbling because the world stops for nobody. And as I was driving on that bus or riding on the bus, I realized the world kept going on without me and I needed to catch up to it. And that's where a lot of people struggle at. A lot of people play that catch up game of trying to get back where they were, not realizing that in order to get back where they were, a lot of times that meant doing the things they used to do. And that means being able to go back to a place that otherwise put them in prison. So you got to go back to those old habits, which I refuse to do.
How did you not give up on life?
I was determined. What's crazy is that a lot of people ask me these questions and that particular question. And I was just determined that in that desolate, lonely world of solitary confinement, I had to dig deep to find myself. But I did exactly that. I found myself. And I told myself and that when I did get out, I was going to give back. I was going to be the reason why someone didn't have to experience the utter dismal world of solitary confinement. The way I was going to do that is by being able to make sure that I reached out, I volunteered, I interacted, I talked to youth because you guys are going to be the reason why this trend, this cycle is broken. You have to realize you're more than this moment in time of you being in that facility. There's so much more for you out there. One older gentleman would tell me constantly, "Hey, youngster, you could do so much more in a circle, meaning the world, than you can in this square, meaning these four walls."
What part of being locked up really convinced you to change?
You know, there are so many different times that it put it in perspective for me. And I can zero in multiple different ones, but one of the ones that really comes to mind is being forced at gunpoint to stand because I refused to work on the chain gang, having the K9 unit threaten to send the dog in on me because I refused to come out my cell. These are examples of times that I just knew that no human being should have to experience this. Yeah, I committed crimes as a young man. I got waived to adult court, but these activities, these interaction was not going to be conducive to learning something that's going to get me in a position where I'm thinking, oh, I'm doing much better now. Now, at the end of the day, you have to make a decision for yourself. No one's going to do it for you. But these different examples that I just mentioned of being held at gunpoint by correctional officers, why I stood and refused to participate in the chain gang, and being threatened to have a dog come in my cell are seem extreme, but they're the average things that happen in the prison environment. And I would love to say that most people get out and they do what I do, but most people don't. People are affected in different ways. See, trauma has a way of affecting people. One person can experience these different things and still be resilient, and some people cannot. Sometimes They keep repeating things that they did in the past. Me, I was able to be resilient and overcome odds. But I know that it's a continual struggle every single day.
What steps did you take to make the change, and did you write them down?
I wrote quite a bit. I wrote a lot. And oftentimes while I was trying to understand chess, I would translate it to activities in life. And writing it down was part of that act. That was part of that activity. And so for me, I can remember writing down plans of what I wanted to do once I got out. So I'm telling you right now, as you're watching me, if you have the ability to think about what your plans and what your goals are, write them down, because what you think becomes what you say, and what you say becomes what you may do, and what you do becomes who you are. So if you're going to be thinking about it, talking about it, and doing it, make sure you're writing down futuristic plans that represent the fact that you could do so much better than where you're currently at right now.
What made you think that you could really change?
I watched a lot of people come in and out of prison, and I would watch them do the revolving door where they would come in, be out gone for 6 months, and come right back. And I just thought that for me, once I got out, I wasn't coming back. So that was the first sort of natural seed that was planted in my mind. But then I had older mentors that schooled me on the fact that I could do much more than what I was doing, that I could change, and this didn't have to be my life. And I have a chance. I have an opportunity, just like right now, as I'm speaking to you. I want this to resonate with you. You have an opportunity to truly be everything that you want to be. If you don't know what it is, even if everybody around you is doing wrong, you can still do right. But change is not something that happens overnight, it is truly a process. Every single day, you have to put the work in. The rent is due every single day, and you have to work hard at it, but you can change. And that's what I told myself. And I listened to people that told me that I didn't have to be what I thought I had to be. And I changed, and I continue to change, and I keep maintaining that change by understanding that the work, the rent, is due every single day.
So, how did you persevere through the process of changing yourself?
That is really a great question, because I know right now you guys are thinking, how am I going to get through this? And for me, I think the way that I persevered was through reading, was through writing, was through learning the law. I became a jailhouse lawyer. I started learning and understanding more and more about the law and what it was going to take for me to fight battles without having to pick up weapons, for me to fight battles without having to, be violent, And so perseverance for me came in multiple different forms. For you right now, it could mean that you're sitting down writing on your plan. It could mean that you're finding your higher power, something more than yourself. Because one thing that I knew that I had a problem with was my ego. And so for me, while I sat in that cell, I was provided true humility, that the world is bigger than myself, that I can be stopped. And while I continually read, I started realizing the more that I read, the more I realized I didn't know. So through humility, through reading, through learning, is how I persevered, because I knew that it was going towards something. And again, every single day that I woke up and I was above ground, that I was on this side of the ground, I knew that this was going to be a day that I was going to be successful. It may look different than yesterday, but I have an opportunity to create and define and redefine who I was going to be.
How long did it take to get where you are now?
I would love to say that it took 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. But the reality is that your change, your process of change, what you want in life, it's a journey. And the journey is the destination, meaning that you're going to be constantly moving. It never stops. But just like anything, if you don't actively change for the better, then by default you change for the worse. So that means that I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you. I can't just stop here today. I'm already working on my next um, keynote. I'm working on the next state I'm going to. And that means that I'm not where I really want to be, because where I really want to be is constantly moving. And so don't allow yourself to limit yourself to saying, I want to be here and that's it. Create milestones. So when you say where I am right now, how long did it take to get here? I would say that it was through a lot of conversations, um, failures, because every success I've ever had has been built on the idea and on the fact that they are earned through failures, that there is no growth in the comfort zone. So for me, I had to get uncomfortable. I need to continue to be uncomfortable. And that when I look at where I am at today, I'm not satisfied. I have so much more I need to do. And so, but I know that all the different things that discussions I've had with people, the different lessons I learned from people are what contribute to me being able to continue to be successful today and not being afraid to fail.
What made you work in criminal justice?
You know, I think that the biggest thing about working in the criminal justice field is that people I grew up with ended up in the criminal justice system. I ended up in the criminal justice system. As a matter of fact, most people that I grew up with at some point or another, either they knew someone in the system or they were in the system themselves. So I figured that I could be that person that complains about it and says that this is bad, that's bad, but I can also get in there and be the change that I want to see. And so I wanted to be that person that when teachers and educators are working with their students, they think about me and the fact that I'm able to change and gives them more energy to keep doing what they're doing. I knew that for me, I wanted to make sure that everything that people contributed to make me who I am was something that was going to be not taken in vain.
What's in the future for you?
So many different things. So many different things. I'm still actively wanting to and doing and booking keynotes in different states. And when I go to these different states, I'm making sure that these youngsters are looking at my YouTube videos, that they're having the questions prepared, that they're seeing something in me like I see in them, which is an opportunity for change. One thing that I'm really looking at wanting to do is I want to provide a commencement speech to a college. I'm trying to complete my book. I still have a couple credits left to get my PhD. So yeah, there's a lot of different things in the future for me. And I just keep at it. I don't stop. I don't stop to the coffin drop. I keep moving, I keep going. And I just realized that everything that I've ever wanted, everything that I've ever achieved has never been built on not doing anything. So I'm active, I'm committed, and I want everyone here today who's listening to what I'm saying in this video to know that, again, you can be much more than what you see, much more than what people have told you. And sometimes we plant seeds knowing that it's going to be years before we actually see that tree grow, and it's okay. But if you take anything from what I've said today, I want you to truly look at me, and I really want you to work hard to see yourself 5 years from now, alive, successful, not committing crimes, understanding your true value and your true worth, because you are worth it. And like I told you guys, I don't have to know you to know that I care about you, because I do. And you guys have the ability to do more. So again, I want to give a strong shout out to the 100, the 200, the 300, the 400. You guys truly impressed me. You guys truly made an impact on me. And because of you, I'm a better person today. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me. And thank you for taking the time to having me in your library.